Oz clips. Oz clips are used to mount paintings into travel frames. There are two different kinds of Oz clips. This one has a loop for installation. This one is without the loop. Both Oz clips swing out in either direction, like that. Voila. Beautiful. All right. This is the piece on which we are going to put the Oz clips. Must glove up first. These beautiful purple fashion fit nitrile gloves. The Oz clips go on the back of the piece. Like so. This piece has backing board on it. The nice thing about this backing board is that it is hiding, blocking, obscuring, obstructing our view of the material with which we are working. Therefore, we have to look behind the backing board to make sure it's appropriate for the installation of Oz clips. It's always best to use hand tools when you're working on the back of a piece as opposed to a power tool, because hand tools are easier to control and less likely to slip. All right, I'm going to peek behind this backing board here. And you all may not be able to see what's going on back here, but I'm just looking to see that the stretcher bar has got enough width to accept my screw, and it looks like it does. And I have plenty of room from the back of the stretcher bar to the front of the canvas so that my screw is not going to go through the canvas. We don't want to put it right through the canvas. That would be bad. Okay, so we've replaced the screws in the backing board, and our assistant is holding the piece away from the cart so the face is not in contact with anything but air. That's how we like it. And I will now commence the installation of the Oz clips. Take the wing of the Oz clip and extend it out so that it's beyond the edge of the frame. As far as placement is concerned, most of the time we like to go a quarter to a third of the way from the top or bottom edge of the piece. But in this case, the backing board is interfering with that. So we're going to install them more in the upper corner where we have the wood here for a good purchase. So I'm going to sight the Oz clip here. And I want to make sure that the arm has free play, isn't rubbing against the back of the piece or interfering with any hardware that might be existing. And I also want to keep the holes lined up with the center of the stretcher bar that's behind this backing board, which you can't see. All right. I'm going to mark my holes here for installation. Like so. Now I'm really going to give it my all. And I'm going to punch little holes in there just so the screw sets exactly where I want it to. Like so. Again, it's best to use hand tools. It may take a little more effort, but it's worth the safety precaution. There's one. Okay, so here's the Oz clip installed. The arm swings freely. The screws here are countersunk into the Oz clip, so they don't interfere with the swinging of the arm in any way. So now we're going to place the next Oz clip on this side. The most common mistake made when installing Oz clips is the correct placement, making sure that they oppose each other. This keeps them stationary in the travel frame to have them put on an opposite orientation. Because this Oz clip swings one direction and it breaks right there, it stops, cannot swing any farther than this. The opposite direction here, it swings and it stops there. So you have opposing forces holding the piece in place. If you were to install the Oz clip this way, both of these arms swing in the same direction. So a bump to the piece can create movement that shifts the piece in the travel frame. We don't want that. It's also worth reiterating that most museums, it's a requirement that you not use power tools on the back of a piece. So that's why we're using hand tools. A skilled technician could probably manage to use a power tool, but museum standards pretty much require no power tools. Okay, so we're going to sight this piece approximately the same way that we have the piece above. Once again, making sure that it's opposite. And we'll proceed to install this Oz clip in the same way as the first one. Okay, so it's a few minutes later, and we can see the piece with all 4 Oz clips installed. And important to note, once again, that these Oz clips are installed to oppose each other, which eliminates movement within the travel frame. Doesn't move. Okay, so here's our piece. We're about to put it in the travel frame. All 4 Oz clips are extended. Usually it's preferable that the piece stay oriented in its viewing position. Sometimes we do travel pieces on their side, though, to meet shipping specifications. When you're putting the piece down in the travel frame, it's a good idea to center it in the space, making the edges all equidistant from the inside edge of the travel frame. It's a good idea to measure that. A little nudge this way, and we should have it. Okay, so here we see the piece in the travel frame, and the Oz clips are still extended, and we're going to mark inside the travel frame where the holes on the Oz clips fall so that we can drill for the bolts. It's important to make a real precise circle here so that you know exactly where that hole is. Mark all 4. There's 2 done. Okay, now that we've got our holes marked, we're going to take the piece out of the travel frame. It's important to make your awl punch right in the middle of the hole that you've traced, so that your drill bit falls right in the middle of that hole, which will ensure that your bolt is right in the middle. Voila. Another important consideration is to make sure that you drill straight down. This drill has a nice bubble level on it. If you don't drill straight down, then your bolt is going to come out at an angle and it's going to miss the hole on the Oz-clip. So, eyeball it. I like to use one eye. There's the school of thought that says two eyes, but so our hole is drilled. It's been cleaned out. Travel frame's nice and clean. This is the hardware we're going to use. We've got a T-screw here in this hand, falling out, and a bolt here. T-screw and the bolt are put together, like so. And the bolt gets pushed in. Might look backwards right now, but it's really not, because we're going to switch it out in a second. Pound it in so that seat's nice and tight. Take out our bolt. Right? Now we take the bolt and we put it from the back of the travel frame into the T-screw. This way they oppose each other. It's kind of the same concept of the Oz-clips. You've got the bolt going up and the T-screw down, and as you screw them together, they tighten each other and lock, so that that thing is not going to come unscrewed. Nice. There it is, in, tight, nice and straight too. Okay, now we're going to put the piece into the travel frame, lining up the bolts with the holes in the Oz-clips. If we've done our job right, it'll fit perfectly. Are you in? Sounds like it. I'm in.
Sounds good.
And there it is. Lock washers are the first piece of hardware to go over the bolt, over the Oz-clip. It's important to use a lock washer so that when this is tightened down, the wing nut doesn't unscrew due to vibrations during transit. A few spins, and just hand tight. You don't have to get brutish about it. Perfect. And the next thing to do is stretch some twill tape over the piece. And the reason we do that is that we're going to wrap it in poly eventually, polyethylene, and we don't want the polyethylene to bag down, sag, or in any way contact the surface of the painting. And the tightly stretched twill tape prevents that. It's important to screw into the side of the travel frame this way, as opposed to the top of the travel frame this way, because our tool may slip, and if it slips over here, we don't have anything to worry about. But if it were to slip the other way, might have a lot to worry about. There we go, nice and snug. And there you have it. Trim the end. Okay, here's the travel frame with the piece inside of it, and the twill tape is stretched over the front of it. The most preferable way to wrap this piece in poly is upright, like we have it, so that gravity doesn't allow the poly to touch the face of the piece in any way. Keep holding on to that. I'll bring you the poly. Yep. Hold that up for me. Grab a tape gun. Nice and tight. Like that. And you tuck the corners. Like so. Okay, so here's our piece in the travel frame, wrapped in polyethylene, cut holes for the handles, and here's what it looks like from the back. Now there's two schools of thought about wrapping a travel frame in poly. Some museums think that you should have it open in the back to allow air to pass in and out. Some museums prefer to have you seal all the seams with tape to keep it completely airtight. So you may need to check with your museum representative to find out what their preference is. The way we've done it here is the best of both worlds. The whole piece is wrapped completely in poly, but the seams aren't sealed. So air can still pass in and out. There you have it.